was in the corner. Now I play regularly in an orchestra.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is just like a flash cello orchestra this afternoon. I saw it this morning. No.
Is it advertised anywhere? Is it advertised on the internet?
Yes, on the Musikfestspiele website.
Music or what?
Musikfestspiele.com. And there is this concert at 5 in the Hochschule für Musik concert. They have a nice concert venue there, a new one, and so
Let's get started.
yeah.
Because Claire, you wait, you can read the dialogue.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I will read Phaedrus and
I read
Socrates.
Socrates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going from to
We started here.
269.
Yeah.
And the subjects for rhetoric, right?
Yeah.
Speaking and
I read it, but I wasn't present the last time. But okay.
No worries. I think we just proceed slowly.
Yeah.
And now I will begin, and also the central question from here. But now, from what source could one acquire the art of true rhetorician, the really persuasive speaker?
Well, Phaedrus, becoming good enough to be an accomplished competitor is probably, perhaps necessarily, like everything else. If you have a natural ability for rhetoric, you will become a famous rhetorician, provided you supplement your ability with knowledge and practice. To the extent that you lack any one of them, to that extent you will be less than perfect. But insofar as there is an art of rhetoric, I don't believe the right method for acquiring it is to be found in the direction Lysias and Thrasymachus have followed.
Where can we find it then?
My dear friend, maybe we can see now why Pericles was in all likelihood the greatest rhetorician of all.
How is that?
All the great arts require endless talk and ethereal speculation about nature. This seems to be what gives them their lofty point of view and universal applicability. That's just what Pericles mastered. Besides having natural ability, he came across Anaxagoras, who was just that sort of man, got his full dose of ethereal speculation, and understood the nature of mind and mindlessness. Just the subject on which Anaxagoras had the most to say. From this, I think, he drew of the art for the art of rhetoric what was useful to it.
Okay, so we have a small break here.
Yeah.
So now the answer: what is acquired for the art of a true rhetorician until now?
There's also, besides ability, knowledge of nature of a lot of knowledge you acquired with
yes. So basically, the first is disposition, right?
Yeah.
Nature ability. The second one he called is knowledge, and knowledge he will also extended it, like the knowledge of what, and then he says the knowledge of the things itself themselves, and especially of mind and mindlessness. In fact, the mind of the nature. And the third one is practice. Yeah. And also, he mentioned endless talk.
Endless talk. So, in fact, practice also.
Yeah, exactly. So it's in fact a conversation, right? It's not just go to a lecture hall or give lectures, but rather talk with each other.
In this respect, he does not differentiate between rhetoric and any of the other arts, because for pretty much everything else, as he says, if you want to be a painter, if you want to be a sculptor, if you want to be an agriculturalist, you also need to have some natural talent. You also need to have knowledge, and this is what he says here, a requireless talk and ethereal speculation about nature. This comes from the idea that they had in ancient Greece during this time, that pretty much all the arts require you to imitate nature in a way. So everything is already there. You need to see it and learn how to apply it. And
Exactly.
then you need to practice.
Yeah, points taken. So according to the original text, it said just perhaps necessary like everything else. So basically he says, now we are talking about a good something, a good someone. Yes. So every good someone need to go through this. And then but the only difference is you mentioned the imitation, but for Plato here, he thinks, at least he thinks, the rhetoric, the good rhetoric should about the truth. So it's not about imitation, but the truth themselves, kind of like that.
I believe that the idea is more deeply embedded, and he hasn't considered it necessary to explain it. But the point was that they believe that everything was also already there, and you had to somehow understand it. That there were examples of everything in nature around us, and the philosophers, and not just them, pretty much everybody who was smart tried to learn from nature. And Plato also very often gives example from events that you can observe around you.
Do you have evidence of like the text here, or it's just
from the text here?
Yeah.
I have a question. It is not direct. This sentence, the great arts require endless talk and ethereal speculation about nature. So you have to think about it all the time. And why do you have to think about it? Because what you want to learn, in essence, is already there. And
so this one is your interpretation. I think that's exactly the problems there. I don't, yeah. Okay. So, you just mean like the nature is at hand, right? You just
the nature
need
is
to.
around us. The universe is around us, and
Yeah,
it can
okay.
teach us pretty much everything, but we need to understand it.
Okay. Any response to that?
Yeah, it's a bit, nature is a bit, yeah, maybe it is, maybe I would agree to Alex, because otherwise nature is, yeah, for me, not, it's a bit difficult to understand what what it means, because it's such a vast, so yeah, maybe they thought about nature as a model for, I don't know.
That's a long story. So then I think later on the later passage we have some information about how how is the relationship between us and the nature of something. But so we will read that further, and then but here one question. So Pericles is given here as a paragon of rhetorician. And here I want to introduce a little bit. So Pericles was a very great politician at the time, and today one of his orations is preserved. It's called funeral or oration, and still I read it once. It's really great funeral.
Funeral oration.
Yeah, I can show you a little bit.
That's
Pericles' funeral oration.
He
okay.
lived in around 450 BC, so about 100 years earlier, right? Maybe less than 100.
Socrates lived they lived in his time, so
Socrates could be.
yeah. So I'm not sure if either Plato is experienced. I think part of it. So you know what my feeling about? I think I read it a few times a few years ago, and my first impression was, oh, this oration could be given by, I think one modern politician can just take it, and also we are
Just
very effective, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a great speech in any case. So here he gives that, and this is that's a little bit background about Anaxagoras, and he is a philosopher, and they said he brought philosophy to Athens. And in his relationship with Pericles, they are close friend. And then he said something like the sun is, everybody believed in sun as a god at that time, but Anaxagoras says no, the god is the sun is not a god, it's just a burning stone, at least bigger than very big, bigger than the Asia Minor. Yeah, of course he's right, but then the Athenians were very angry, so they want to expel. How to say that?
Expelled.
Yeah.
Expel.
Banish, actually.
Banish him.
And yeah.
And although he he was the best friend of Pericles, Pericles also did everything, but the people are outraged, so he needed to leave. And so he is kind of like a natural philosopher, and also he's the hugest subject of him is nous. Nous, translated here into mind.
Okay.
Yes, so he want to understand the reason or the human mind or something like that. So he is then he is the one who has the knowledge of nous and non-nous. So
the parrot is going this street with so there will be a lot of
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I thought it would be a Landstraße, but it's yeah,
Cool.
it's here. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. So here, then we have a lot of stuff into it, and then Pericles got a teacher or a philosopher, and a philosopher is a kind of like natural philosopher who think of the cosmos and then the stuff around us, but at the same time also concentrated himself on human minds or human reason. Basically, like, and those all stuff will come later in the passage. Okay, so we can go on. What do you mean by that?
Okay, yeah. Well, isn't the method of medicine in a way the same as the method of rhetoric?
How so?
In both cases, we need to determine the nature of something, of the body in medicine, of the soul in rhetoric. Otherwise, all we'll have will be an empirical and artless practice. We won't be able to supply, on the basis of an art, a body with a medicine and diet that will make it healthy and strong, or a soul with the reasons and customary rules for conduct that will impart to it to the convictions and virtues we want.
That is most likely Socrates.
So do you think then that it is possible to reach a serious understanding of the nature of the soul without understanding the nature of the world as a whole?
Well, if we are to listen to Hippocrates, Asclepius' descendant, we won't even understand the body if we don't follow that method.
He speaks well, my friend. Still, Hippocrates aside, we must consider whether argument supports that view.
Okay, so here we can say a little bit like in 270b, right? To determine the nature of something, of the body in medicine or of the soul in rhetoric. So a little bit hint to Alex's question, how is our relationship between nature, the physics of what Plato means. He means like the nature of medicine, then it's just how we deal with the body, kind of like that. Yes.
He speaks of
Yeah, but
this.
you still need to understand the nature of the world as a whole,
Exactly.
the universe,
Exactly.
and learn from it.
Yeah. So basically, then Plato has a holistic view of them. He's expressed somewhere else, like if you have you have a headache, if you just treat your head, that won't get well. So you need to treat the whole body, and so on. And here he said, if you want to treat the body, you need to understand the whole universe. And also you want to convince other people that you need the whole knowledge of the human soul, and so on and so forth. I think it's exactly me questions.
So not reason but soul. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And there Hippocrates. Yeah. And
So yeah.
okay, I think I still have a question, but can't find them. Okay. So I think we can go on.
Yes. So consider then what both Hippocrates and true argument say about nature. Isn't this the way to think systematically about the nature of anything? First, we must consider whether the object regarding which we intend to become expert and capable of transmitting our expertise is simple or complex. Then, if it is simple, we must investigate its power. What things does it have? What natural power of acting upon? By what things does it have? What natural disposition to be acted upon? If, on the other hand, it takes many forms, we must enumerate them all, and, as we did in the simple case, investigate how each is naturally able to act upon what, and how it has a natural disposition to be acted upon by what.
Okay. Here you can make a short break.
So, yeah.
Any
Nature. Any elements in nature and how they interact with each other and how they depend on each other. Yeah,
Here's basically a further explanation of the question Alex raised. So how can we learn from them, or how should we deal with them? And the first is holistically, and the second one is systematically here. And he gives some that's questions already. In fact, that's the whole subject of the last discussion, last week's discussion in 665. D, you can say
Yeah.
systematic art of collection and division. So today we won't have time to get into that. But here Plato gives a second answer. So the first is to determine the subject of what you are looking for, like if the soul, then whether the question is whether the soul is simple or some compound. If so, yes, if simple, okay, so then we will ask the question, what like what it's acting, what is this, and what stuff it can act upon, and what stuff can act upon it, and in what manner. So then that's basically we find a simple case and then ask these three questions. What his its object, what can object upon on him or it, and how. If it's a compound or it's a complicated stuff, and then we cut them properly into simple cases. Yeah, so this here is kind of like Plato already tried to discuss the methodology of science. So how should we deal with those stuff, and also basically because his goal is human soul, right? Basically what he means, the methodology of in Geisteswissenschaften. So about all the stuff with Geist together. And the third part is he sees that in this educational purpose. So then I lost the word, but in any case, then try to commit this information from the speaker here to the listener, and to convey this stuff in this method, and so on and so forth. That's what I understand it. Yeah.
This sounds surprisingly modern, because this is the way we still learn today. Pretty much everything. You see the whole thing. Let's say that you want to play the cello. You hear somebody play the cello, but then you practice individual notes, right? And then longer pieces and longer pieces. And this is exactly what he's saying. This method.
Yeah, exactly. So especially his pupil Aristotle, and then make this kind of discussion really to a high grade of like reif. How to say that?
Mature.
Mature. That's so. Now my question. What's because in this dialogue we also have the nature of the soul, right? Discussed. It's simple or compound.
I think it's compound.
It's complex.
It's complex.
And also, I remember that the word that we use "soul" in English today is more limited than the one they used in ancient Greece. So it was a little bit more than just the thing that's inside us. It's something that can transcend us. It can survive after us.
Yeah. So that's a little bit far, Alex. So can you remember the text about humans to the inspection directly? What did Plato said?
Well, remember that in Phaedrus, he talks about the afterlife.
Yeah, that's one. So that is the part of immortality of the soul, right? That's the argument, and also the huge part of it, tripartite of the soul. In fact, my questions, right?
What are the three parts of the soul?
So the charioteer one, right? So here you can see all stuff interconnected, interrelated. So then what is the human soul? Three parts, right? The reason, the courage, and the desire. And then what did Plato did in the dialogue? He dive into the three part, right? What can upon and how, and what can they upon?
How do they correct?
Right. So basically, he himself also follows this method in the subject at stake for him, which is the human soul. So the further question or comments to what we just read? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah,
It
seems that
seems so, Socrates.
proceeding by any other method would be like walking with the blind. Conversely, whoever studies anything on the basis of an art must never be compared to the blind or the deaf. On the contrary, it is clear that someone who teaches another to make speeches as an art will demonstrate precisely the essential nature of that to which speeches are to be applied. And that truly is the soul.
Of course.
This is therefore the object toward which the speaker's whole effort is directed, since it is in the soul that he attempts to produce conviction. Isn't that so?
Yes.
Clearly, therefore, Thrasymachus and anyone else who teaches the art of rhetoric seriously will, first, describe the soul with absolute precision and enable us to understand what it is, whether it is one and homogeneous by nature or takes many forms, like the shape of bodies, since, as we said, that is what is to demonstrate the nature of something.
Absolutely.
Second, he will explain how, in virtue of its nature, it acts and is acted upon by certain things.
Of course.
Third, he will classify the kinds of speech and of soul there are, as well as the various ways in which they are affected, and explain what causes each. He will then coordinate each kind of soul with a kind of speech appropriate to it. And he will give instructions concerning the reasons why one kind of soul is necessarily convinced by one kind of speech, while another necessarily remains unconvinced.
This, I think, would certainly be the best way. So here we have a break, and I would basically just like introduce first what Plato want to says here. Basically, like Trump, right? Every time he speaks, I think he does not get my heart at all, right?
Yeah.
But somehow he gets a lot of
Yeah,
people.
there are a lot of.
Yeah. So he convinced a lot of people. So basically, we can say just like marketing or something like that. So first analyze the audience and find out the greatest number, and then make your strategy. What they want to say here, and how how should the conversation be like, and then you speak that.
Yeah, but there is no truth. I think it's not the issue. Doesn't care about
Yes.
truth. Yeah. Or
That's why I like to have this book about sophists.
yeah.
Says that this is not what the idea speaking is. So here in Phaedrus, he says that the goal is to reach the truth, not to just convince someone of something.
I think that was for sure, but those stuff are overlapping. The first is that, and I think here Plato is trying to, what he want to convey is, suppose if you already have the truth, right?
Okay.
So then how you can convey to the other people? Of course, my example is also a little bit misleading. So because Trump, we suppose he doesn't have the truth. But here, then Plato want to say, sir, say you are a professor, and you really know your subject, you know your, but then how can you convey to the students? And then he made this, I think this is a very, very clear picture. So you have audience here, they have different type of souls. And how many different types of souls? In fact, Plato also mentioned this in this dialogue. Anybody of you knows?
How many?
No,
No.
I think basically he says there's 12 gods, so there are 12 different good souls according to their character. And then if you are in love, so if you are a follower of Zeus, then you will love this kind of soul. And if you are a follower of Apollon and the other and so on and so forth. So basically he think even those souls who are love the truth are different. And then if you are speaking to the soul which like Aries, so if you choose Apollo way, and he will not understand you. So basically here, the Plato seems to suggest this picture. So the different audience, and you already have the truth. Still, you will need to figure out how to approach them. Yeah. Yeah. And the second is, in virtue of its nature, its acts and is acted upon by certain things. So we just discussed Plato's souls, right? Or soul. He thinks it's not homogeneous. It's three parts, and so how those stuff act upon, or how they act on other stuff. Then what do you think? Maybe it's because the passage was a time ago, so maybe you all forgot it. The first is seems that the soul can act upon the body, right? And the second is the reason he's the charioteer. He has this wit, and this, how to say that, is
Yeah, okay. How do you say? I don't know.
The whip?
is a whip, right?
Yeah.
And also on the
yeah,
I don't remember this.
so
Zügel halt.
so the answer is then the soul can act upon the body, right? And then in between inside the soul, the reason can upon on the desire, in which manner? Violently, right? Can we can start how he controls the other horses, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Further comments or question?
The bridle.
Oh, bridle. You're right, Alex. It's really good English. Spurs, bridle. Yeah. Okay. And then, I think there was a reference for me. So you cannot be a public speaker, cannot be a real good rhetorician. It's like it's destroyed himself, because then in most of the cases you are facing different souls, right? So then your method to approach them should be multiple. But what you can say to let them understand you is only one way, or maybe a little bit more than that. So he kind of like say, my ideal of a good rhetorician is practically not possible, because right, souls are diverse.
But shouldn't a good rhetorician be able to adapt, feel their way in the audience and see what they respond to, and then they adapt. They
adapt, and then often like on which price, right? The second
so let's say the goal is to explain something. You start teaching, your professor start teaching, and you see that your students what some students don't understand, and you maybe come up with different examples or with different activities.
Yes. Then basically you say, then in a public speech, say you have 5 pupils, and then you speak in 1/5 of your speech, like towards to this one student, and the second one, the second student.
No, you cannot do that. But the same applies also to writing. You cannot say, okay, this book is to be read only by this kind of people. It doesn't work.
And you know, the answer for this paradox is private conversation waiting for you already. So basically he's this you can say, you can feel this critique is not only on TV and also on lectures in the university, and also and so on and so forth. So we can even our conversation now. Also, I think it's kind of like, can we survive Plato's critique? I'm asking myself, like,
No, because we're 3 different people that want to react differently to different things.
But we are really a conversation, right? That's for sure. Because if I ask, then the client has a question, then he can ask. You have a question, you can ask. Then it's. But if it's, I think seminars will go to 20 persons. There 15 persons, great, like 8 to 15, because you can hear the different voices and then enriched by that. If us 3, 4, also okay, but then it's not the reach. But if say 80 persons, then the only possible way is lecture. And for Plato's time, maybe because for the most part of population, the need of education was not there. So because our time, everybody should have the rights to get educated. And we also know, you can say, so their disposition are different, their access to knowledge are different, they have different practices. Maybe most of them don't have any interest in practice. And also the huge number decided the lecture form is the most popular, right? So then, so we can say it's also kind of the not the best education form, but that's the only way we have and what we can do. But which means cannot survive Plato's critique in any case, right?
Personalized training.
Exactly.
Plato advocates for AI teachers.
That's also a good example. I'm also have that in mind of thinking about the AI. The problem of AI is truth, right? It's only seemingly right, but it's not right. And the second question, as you said, is then we can maybe find a person very, very good, like Socrates, the best way. So if you have private conversation with Socrates, I think that's what Plato has in mind, in fact. But we only have one Socrates, right? And we have thousands of billion people lived, and only one Socrates. So
and also, when it comes to teaching, I think that Socrates would probably not be the best teacher for a 5-year-old. At least not if he uses the same methods he uses. I think that his audience, his ideal audience, should be a little bit older.
That's another question. Yes, that's will be answered in somewhere else, like the development of psychology, or there's developmental psychology. Also in Timaeus was answered this question. That you are right. So until like this, the teacher of Socrates usually not earlier than gymnasium or something like that stage.
Yeah. In the previous group that we studied, The boys were 12 or something.
Yeah. So if
Teenage boys.
yeah,
So I just will read another passage and then I will leave. I'm sorry, but yeah. Yeah. So we were I'm willing to ask them, right.
I think
It is very difficult to speak the actual words, I think. Yeah. Or,
so maybe this I think would certainly be the best way.
Yeah, okay. So in fact, my friend, no speech will ever be a product of art, whether it is a model or one actually given, if it is delivered or written in any other way, on this or on any other subject. But those who know right arts of rhetoric, we were just discussing them, are cunning people. They hide the fact that they know very well everything about the soul. Well, then, until they begin to speak and write in this way, we mustn't allow ourselves to be convinced that they write on the basis of the art.
What with that?
It's very difficult to speak the actual words, but as to how one should write in order to be as artful as possible, that I am willing to tell you.
Please do.
Since the nature of speech is in fact to direct the soul, whoever intends to be a rhetorician must know how many kinds of soul there are. Their number is so and so many, each is of such and such a sort. Hence, some people have such and such a character, and others have such and such. And such, have such and such. Those distinctions established, there are in turn so and so many kinds of speech, each of such and such a sort. People of such and such a character are easy to persuade by speeches of such and such a sort in connection with such an issue. For this particular reason, while people of such and such another thought are difficult to persuade for those particular reasons. Yeah, I think I will just, but thanks a lot. Sorry, but yeah.
Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Maybe, we see
Next.
next day and maybe next Saturday.
Next that would be great. And have fun. Thanks for coming, Julia. Yeah.
If there are events coming. Oh, it's no problem. Thanks. See you. Bye-bye.
No, it's a long passage of how the like the understanding how Plato thinks the rhetoric should go. And we'll go on with reading until the end of this small passage. The orator must learn all this well, then put his theory into practice and develop the ability to discern each kind clearly as it occurs in their actions or real life. Otherwise, he won't be any better off than he was when he was still listening to those discussions in school. He will now not only be able to say what kind of person is convinced by what kind of speech. On meeting someone, he will be able to discern what he's like and make clear to himself that the person actually standing in front of him is of just this particular sort of character he had learned about in school, so that he must now apply speeches of such and such a kind in this particular way in order to secure conviction about such and such an issue. When he has learned all this, when, in addition, he has grasped the right occasions for speaking and for holding back, And when he has also understood when the time is right for speaking concisely or appealing to pity or exaggeration or for any other of the kinds of speech he has learned, and when it is not, then and only then will he have finally mastered the art well and completely. But if his speaking, his teaching, or his teaching, or his writing lacks any one of these elements, and he still claims to be speaking with art, you will be better off if you don't believe him. Where Socrates and Phaedrus, the author of this discourse, might say, do you agree? Could we accept an art of speaking presented in any other terms? So here is how.
So I think that this idea to investigate the different types of souls, that is the different audiences, makes sense. What I would add is that once you have that, you should probably also look for some generalities. Maybe there's something that more than one type of soul, more than one type of person can understand easily. And if there's something that, let's say, 10 out of the 12, well, maybe it's a good idea to start with that.
So I think this is a very good question. Then we can ask Plato, because he didn't really mention, he didn't like elaborate of the different sorts of the soul, right? Then we ask, the only part we can find is 12 in this dialogue. And then we can ask, so between those people who enumerate himself after Zeus, right? And also different individuals or different subgroups. I think you are saying like, yes. So in the end, of course, we can find every individual that would be best, but still between two different individuals, there could be some common common traits or common how to say that, commonalities of their souls, right? And then we can begin from that. And even maybe every soul has something in common.
That's possible.
Then we come from that, and so on and so forth.
Like, for example, AfD, they have their posters, and they say, we are born in freedom. Well, everybody agrees with that. This, by the way, sounds a lot like a manual of how to manipulate people. So I need to understand what they respond to and manipulate them.
And you are saying, I think I reiterate this one. I think he says, he always says, that's how the human mind is influenced de facto, right? And the manipulate is already a word negative. So this is the state of matter of state, sorry. And then, of course, you can manipulate that, which means you maybe have some slightly negative purpose.
I can imagine the spice studies.
Yes. Of course, and also what Plato we really want to say is you can educate them.
Yes, you can. Yeah. That's the beneficial part.
And only on aufgrunddessen, right, on this basis, you understand how this human souls and the correlation or correspondence of the human soul and the knowledge is well researched and well angewandt and well used, then education is possible, because you can see from the D, since the nature of speech is in fact to direct the soul, whoever intends to be a rhetorician must know how many kinds of so you can say the direct the soul. Direct is agieren, so that word. So just and the pedagogue, it's just this Phaedrus agieren, you know. So just lead the child is called pedagogy, and lead the soul, of course, is pedagogy. So basically here he just shows this, some like education science pedagogy.
Uses the word direct and not lead. So you show it. And this is what also Socrates does in many of the dialogues. He gives some hints and tries to make his interlocutors come up with the truth themselves. They often fail, but he gives them a chance by asking the right questions. This is directing, this is not leading. And this is really good. Also in modern pedagogy, if you can somehow make the student come up with whatever it is that you want to teach them themselves, this is much better than just spitting out the answer.
Exactly, that's Socrates' method. But here, at least until now, in this dialogue, we still didn't the Socratic method of how to say it here, Bama. Midwifery is not mentioned, interestingly. Basically, here's about education, and then about the picture of education is like what I have in mind is like math. You know, you're also a good mathematician, so I can explain to you like in our set theory, right? Something like here we have A, B, C, D, and here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, then this set and this set. So it kind of A to 1.
And you map them onto each other.
Yeah, what's the word? Map.
Yeah, you map one element onto another.
Yeah, exactly. So that's basically here the future, right? So you have this kind of knowledge, and you have this kind of soul, and then like of course maybe you have knowledge of geography, and that has soul of geography, and you match them. And also how then we just said you suggest midwifery, Socrates method, and so on and so forth. And then basically I think here's what Plato has in mind. And about how he didn't make Socrates, but he has like and when also discussed, then find the right occasion, he said, and for speaking and also for holding back, and then when speaking concisely, and when speaking appalling to pity, right? Just emotionally, like that would be for some people really work well, and where you exaggerate them, right, and so on and so forth. So then it's not only like this mapping, as you said, and also like situational. Yes, just according to the not only right person, but right situation and the right method, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, politicians, lawyers, they can be very good at this.
That's exactly Plato's concern, right, from this book. Yeah.
And it won't take long for somebody to abuse it. So Cicero lived about 3 centuries later, and in one of his writings he says that because he was a lawyer, that the truth doesn't matter. What matters is to convince the jury.
Yes, so you don't need to go to the Cicero, Alex, because this is exactly in this book mentioned. Yeah, we have reference in this book, so that's Lysias, Phaedrus's position.
Yeah.
Exactly. And at the beginning of the dialogue, in fact, you just kind of like quote this book. Different, basically. I cannot find it, but
It's okay.
yeah. Mm. Okay. Anyway, that's the basic concern of this dialogue about, and the two part of people you also mentioned. Well, like one is politician, and the second is lawyers, and you find an example, who is both of them, right?
Yeah, but Cicero was also a politician.
Ja, genau.
So the council.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think then we can go further a little bit. Phaedrus said, that would be impossible, Socrates. Still, it's evidently rather a major undertaking. Socrates said, you're right. And that's why we must turn all our arguments every which way and try to find some easier and shorter route to the art. We don't want to follow a long, rough path for no good reason when we can choose a short, smooth one instead.
Look what he says, shorter route to the art. So this, I believe, also supports what I said earlier, that according to Plato, not just to him, all those arts, including rhetoric, were already somehow present in nature, and we had to somehow access them.
Huh.
So it already exists as a concept, like the concept of good.
Huh.
It exists somewhere, and we're trying to reach it.
Yes, so you are saying we should approach the ideas, right?
Yeah, so that it already exists somewhere.
That's true. So, and there are the standards of, in fact, the ultimate standards of whether a speech is good or not, right? And is well delivered or not, is whether it's delivered to the right person or not, and so on and so forth. So that's the other ultimate standard, and every individual then should approach those ideas, the good, the true, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and they go even to some extremes that might sound ridiculous today. For example, in the Republic, Socrates says that a carpenter doesn't just create a bed; he imitates the ideal of a bed. So, according to this, there's some sort of an ideal bed that exists in the universe, and the carpenter somehow imitates it.
That's exactly as I said, and then that's one basic idea of Plato, the relationship of the sense objects and the ideas. But in this dialogue, right, Alex, what we have read, we don't have that information, right?
We have a shorter route to the art, so the art is somewhere. We can access it.
Yeah.
And when we do our job well, we are very close to the idea.
Yeah. What I want to say is, Alex, usually we can discuss problematics on hand of the material, what we just read. So that's then it's usually one of the like discussion conventions then thinking you can get the first is understand or approach the text at hand more efficiently, and the second is then it's get focused, and especially the people who take part in the discussion can have something in common, which is the material at hand. And the third, I think, of this is then you can avoid some associative stuff and like get more like close to the like the ideal state, how to think properly, I think. So basically, then you are one step after another to get in that, in my opinion, the proper way to think. So anyway, this is just usually the case, and it's become a deeply convention in philosophical seminars, just like then stay at the text at hand.
Sorry, just that it's the other way around in literature, and it's difficult for me sometimes to switch.
Yeah, and in fact, of course, I'm also not saying that. Of course, I'm not does not know literature that well because I never studied that. Of course, I also read some of them, but not an expert. But I would suggest even then you go to a literature seminar, say in the Humboldt University, those rules still work there, I think.
Do.
Yeah.
I try to do that because if the same topic is discussed on more than one occasion, then it usually helps understand, especially if it's something that is old, because this text was written millennia ago.
Yeah.
And some of the words that I used in the translation mean something today that it's not necessarily what it meant back then. And having more than one example, I believe, helps get a better overview of what actually the text says. Because we don't have the original, we cannot read it in Greek, and we just have a translation. That's my point, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, so I think where yeah, the long pass, mid pass. It's not for lack of trying, but nothing comes to mind right now. Well, then shall I tell you something I've heard people say who care about this topic? Phaedrus, of course, Socrates. We do claim, after all, Phaedrus, that it's fair to give the wolf's side of the story as well. Phaedrus, that's just what you should do. Socrates, well, these people say that there's no need to be so solemn about all this and stretch it out to such length. For the fact is, as we said ourselves at the beginning of this discussion, that one who intends to be an able rhetorician has no need to know the truth about things that are just or good, or yet about the people who are such either by nature or upbringing. Not one in law court, you see, cares at all about the truth of such matters. They only care about what is convincing. This is called the likely, and that is what a man who intends to speak according to art should concentrate on. Sometimes, in fact, whether you are prosecuting or defending a case, you must not even say what's actually happened. If it was not likely to have happened, you must say something that is likely instead. Whatever you say, you should pursue what is likely and leave the truth aside. The whole art consists in cleaving to that throughout your speech. Any comments?
This is what I mentioned earlier about Cicero.
Yeah, exactly. The passage read the same thing. And nowadays, like most of the information around us are like this sort, right?
Social media is just horrible.
Yeah, just let you feel better, like convincing, and also in the end convincing by that product or make their profit, or flattering.
Yeah.
It's a good question. I'm asking myself also every day, what for a life would Socrates live if he would be here, right? Phaedrus said, "That's an excellent presentation of what people say who profess to be expert in speeches." Socrates, I recall that we raised this issue briefly earlier on, but it seems to be their single most important point. You can see it's not one time. It's a central concern. Socrates says, "No doubt you've charmed through Theseus' book quite carefully. Then let Theseus tell us this also. By the likely, does he mean anything but what is accepted by the crowd? What else?" So here he also defined by the likely the public speech. Socrates says, "And it is likely it was when he discovered this clever and artful technique that Theseus wrote that if a weak but spunky man is taken to court because he beat up a strong but cowardly one and stole his cloak or something else, no one should tell the truth. The crowd must say that the spunky man didn't beat him up all by himself, while the latter must rebut this by saying that only the two of them were there and fall back on that well-worn plea. How could a man like me attack a man like him? The strong man, naturally, will not admit his cowardice, but will try to invent some other lie, and may thus give his opponent the chance to refute him. And in other cases, speaking as the art dictates, which take similar forms. Isn't that so, Phaedrus? Of course.
To lie and tell the truth. I mean, I get the argument, but it has a lot to do with honor, right?
Honor.
Yeah, with shame.
Today we would say it's maybe it's because it goes back to the argument Socrates just argued. So there are different size sort of souls, right? So today we would say, or there's a different type, and the second maybe even as you mentioned. So this property might be shared by all human beings in this case. So if you are a stronger man but beaten by a small one, you feel shame, right? It's a common among human souls or human psycho that you feel shame and you want to admit that, right?
And this is stronger than your desire to tell the truth. This was part of the Greek culture back then. They did in something called the shame culture nowadays.
Mm, mm, mm. So basically, then the Plato usually also associate the good horse with honor.
Yeah.
So then, in this case, so we can imagine the charioteer maybe wanted to tell the truth.
Yeah.
But because of the good horse, because of the concern of the honor, then he tells a lie, right?
Yeah.
The soul as a whole tells a lie. Yes. So any further ideas about this story?
Just an example that pops into my head.
Please.
I was following this lawyer on social media, and she shares her cases, and there was a woman suing another one because the dog of the plaintiff was injured by the cat of the defendant. So a cat get injured a dog, and this was a lawsuit. And this reminds me of this. Our cat is typically less strong than a dog, right? But the cat has somehow managed to injure the dog.
So then you mean it's unlikely to happen, but it happened.
It happened, yeah. This is the size of you have a weak
argument, but it's just the truth.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good way parallel to this example here. So what it says, Theseus, or whoever else it was and whatever name he pleased to use for himself, seems to have discovered an art which he has disguised very well. But now, my friend, shall we or shall we not say to him, what? This, Theseus, some time ago, before you came into the picture, we were saying that people get the idea of what is likely through its similarity to the truth. And we just explained that in every case, the person who knows the truth knows best how to determine similarities.
This is very circular.
Very what?
Circular. So if you know the truth, you can determine what is the truth, what the truth is best. And in order to best determine what the truth is, you need to know the truth.
Yeah.
So it's very circular. It's circular.
Oh, okay, I see.
Or catch-22 here.
Yeah.
So isn't there an objective way to know the truth?
So for Plato, it's of course you watch the ideas, right? The forms.
But how do I know whether I'm on the right track?
In fact, it's called the mean or paradox. What you raised, a very central epistemological paradox. So basically, just it's Plato's own objection of his definition of philosophy. As we said that in this book and especially in Symposium, right? Philosophy is something in between. You are not God, so you don't have the truth.
Yeah.
But you love the truth, so you approach the truth, you just goes for it, and then you may know. And then exactly this paradox was discussed in depth. If you are interested, you can have more about that. Say, if you have the truth, so why you seek for them, right? You have it.
But how do I know that I have?
Yes, so that's the two parts of the argument. The second, if you don't have, as you said, the philosopher does not have the truth. So even you meet it in front of you, right? How can you recognize it? So then what are you doing, philosophers? You claim you approach the truth. That's just a lie, because whether you know it or not, if you know it, you're not philosopher because you are God. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Or if you have it, you don't love it anymore. You don't seek for after it, right? But if you don't have it, the knowledge, right? And if you happen to meet it, how can you know it is it? How can you tell? So you cannot tell. And then, so whether or, so both way taught us a little. So then philosophy is just something like you understand cannot exist because it's absurd. So that's called Meno paradox of knowledge. Basically, you just here what you mentioned is exactly that one.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's a kind of Plato's like self-critic and his understanding of philosophy or philosopher. And yeah, but here what he means is like this. He says, first the soul, like the soul, how can the soul grow wings, right? It's because it gets reminded by the stuff in the world which are similar to the ideas in the heaven. The strongest strong idea of them is the beauty. So that's why this subject is at stake in this dialogue. And that's the first point of this passage. And the second passage is Plato said, so so we have similarity in any case already. That's important. So the second point is, where does this like fake come or any kind of rhetoric working? So where the similarities are, that's also he mentioned earlier. So he said to determine what is silver and what is iron, that's not subject in rhetoric because it's too obvious. But the problems whether in this case is just or not just this kind of stuff, because they're very similar to each other, because so that's the case, the case of reputation, and where the rhetorician work. Basically here what he says, like then yeah, he says that people get the idea of what is likely through its similarity to the truth, right? That's what we said is first. And the second, and we just explained that in every case, the person who knows the truth knows how to determine similarities. That's the third part already. So he said a true rhetorician should use the systematic way, and then to collect a division between them, and then to study the nature of it, and as here put another words, determine similarities. So if you have something new to say about the art of speaking, we shall listen. But if you don't, we shall remain convinced by the explanations we gave just before. No one will ever possess the art of speaking to the extent that any human being can, unless he acquires the ability to enumerate the sort of characters to be found in any audience, the first. The second, to divide everything according to its kind. That's the third. And to grasp each single thing firmly by means of one form. And no one can acquire these abilities without great effort. A laborious effort a sensible man will make, not in order to speak and act among human beings, but so as to be able to speak and act in a way that pleases the gods as much as possible. Wiser people than ourselves, Theseus, say that a reasonable man must put his mind to being pleasant, not to his fellow slaves, though this may happen as a side effect, but to his masters who are wholly good. So, if the way round is long, don't be astonished. We must make the detour for the sake of things that are very important, not for what you have in mind. Still, as our argument asserts, if that is what you want, you are getting best as a result of pursuing our own goal. Comments? Questions?
Why isn't it a different thing when you talk to the gods and when you talk to other people? Because when you talk to the gods, you typically try to propitiate them. You say
Try to what?
to appease them, to propitiate them, to basically you think they're angry at you, and you say I'm sorry, basically, and you show them that you respect them, and you don't try to convince them because they or in any about anything because they know what has happened, right?
Yeah.
So you don't need rhetoric that much.
Exactly. I think that's basically the message here. So I think here didn't say, but I think my understanding is your point, like the gods or the god, here's the gods, right? The gods know everything I did and I thought. So I don't need to tell lies to them, right? And
Actually, they don't know everything according to their understanding, but still they know quite a bit. They know the truth.
yes, exactly. So the first is then say in the case of in the court, the small man says, so then if he speak to the God, he already know God knows that he beat the big guy, so then he will tell the truth, right?
Yeah.
That's the first point. And the point is the gods are good, and then if in these cases, then if they are good, so you will also tell them something good or something like that. Then, not according to this standard, so you tell the truth, you tell for the good purpose, and so on and so forth. In a speech, then you are a good rhetorician, right? So I think what he want to say is like just set up a standard like the gods. If the gods allow your speech, if you can say Theseus or Lysias or anybody or Pericles, if you feel comfortable to present or to make this presentation you did to the cloud, also to the gods, okay, then test passed.
Okay.
Right. But basically, I think here's this, I understand the information like that. Klausur bestanden. What you've said is wonderful, Socrates, if only it could be done. So Plato is skeptical about this testimony, right? Yet surely whatever one must go through on the way to an honorable goal is itself honorable. Certainly. Well then, that's enough about artfulness and art effortlessness in connection with speaking. Quite. What's left then is aptness and inaptness in connection with writing. What feature makes writing good and what inapt, right? I think now we are coming to a huge subject, and which for next time we'll finish the book. And let's just stop here and have a talk about your life. I think then we just
Okay. Just go to the toilet and be right back.
yeah.